Here's a upper and lower handguard for an AK-47. These are Tapco handguards actually, and they came in kind of a blonde color. So I refinished it, sanded down, applied some Minwax red mahogany 225, and then also Rust-Oleum Ultimate polyurethane over the top. So I think it ended up turning out pretty good. Give you a close-up of that. And here is the upper handguard. I think it turned out pretty good. Especially since these were a much lighter color when they first came. I bought these from a buddy, used. I wanted it to kind of be a darker color. Actually, you can kind of see on the inside, not this one. The lighter wood that this is. Not really sure what kind of wood this is, but the idea is that I wanted to match this Romanian stock. I believe this was Romanian that I had. This is one of two that I got from a deal from this guy on a message board, and I just sanded this one down. This one had a lot of grease and stuff embedded into the stock, so I'm not using that, but I ended up using another one. You can tell between the two, this is finished, this is unfinished. This is sanded, but it still has a lot of oil inside. And this one I ended up stripping the original finish off, did the same finish to it, the red mahogany 225 from Minwax and the polyurethane. And now it matches pretty darn good as a handguard set. So I'm pretty happy about that. So the goal is I want to go ahead and convert at least the front end of that Saiga AK. And in order to do that, you need a new gas tube to replace the existing gas tube on a Saiga, which looks like this. Of course, the existing Saiga gas tube has no way of retaining that upper handguard. So I purchased this gas tube from Apex Armory Parts Exchange out of Colorado. This is a new stock, but it's not US made, although the handguards are US made. And the way to put this upper handguard on, if you've never done it before, can be kind of tricky because some of them go in really tight. So what you do is you take the handguard and you put this part down so it's kind of so this will be rotated 180 degrees this way. And that's how you get it in there into these slots. Once you get it into these slots, what you do is you take a wrench, like a crescent wrench, and you fasten it around here. And you just basically grab this and turn it the 180 degrees all the way around so it locks in place. It can be kind of tough because it can be really stiff, so you may want to use a towel or some kind of, or wear gloves to kind of make it easier on your hands as it goes. And you want to make it so that it's perfectly even on either side. So this one's on really tight and it's on pretty good. To do the lower, to retain the lower handguard, you need a lower handguard retainer. I'm doing it in a way that so I don't have to knock out the gas tube and the gas block and the front side block. So I purchased this lower handguard retainer from Saiga-AK. It's milled out of steel. I've gotten a couple of these from him, and it's really nice quality. Slides right in. It goes on the same way that a traditional Saiga handguard or AK handguard retainer goes on. Is that you notch the barrel. You notch the barrel so that this bolt goes through the notch, and as you tighten down, tightens down around the barrel, and that retains the handguard in the front onto the barrel via the notch, and the back will just go into the receiver. In the front the upper handguard will retain like this, and there'll be some fitting I'll have to do to these. Most of the fitting will be done on the gas tube. Namely, there may be some trimming that has to be done down in the lower part of this forward retainer on the gas tube, and then there will be some fitting done here so that it goes into the rear sight block of the Saiga, and I will show you guys how to do that. So I went ahead and fitted this stock onto the receiver, and that's pretty straightforward to do. I'll show you what you'll have to do. Here's some tools you're going to need. You're going to want a rotary tool. I have this Black & Decker RTX 3-speed rotary tool, which I really like. It's better than any Dremel that I've ever used. So what you need to do, because this particular Saiga still has the trigger guard in the back and the trigger via the transfer bar back here, it's not going to be as much of an issue when you do the conversion, but I'm not going to do the conversion of this one. I just kind of want to have this as a comparison to my other converted Saigas. So I'm going to keep this back here. The trigger pin and also the trigger itself is going to interfere with the front of the stock, this wooden part that goes inside the receiver, because as you can tell, this part is actually exactly where the trigger pin is. So what you'll need is you'll want to take a rotary tool bit like this and just kind of grind out any of this extra material that you've got on the stock so that it fits in there and it doesn't interfere with the trigger pin and then the movement of the trigger. So that's what I've done, and once I did that, I just went ahead and fitted the stock on here and put the screws in. You can put a screw down here as well, because there's a tang for that only exists in the Saiga without the trigger mod. Or you can grind it off. It's up to you. You can leave it on if you ever think you're going to put the original stock back on. So that's what I've done, just in case I ever want to put the other stock back on, just for shits and giggles. So that I've done that, and obviously I've done this to fit this gas tube onto the Saiga. Couple things you're going to need to do. Obviously you have to go ahead and put this upper handguard on there, and then next thing you got to do is you got to take a file. So here's the tool you're going to need for this one. Take a file like this, okay, and you want to shave the bottom lip down until it fits into the rear sight block. Okay. As they come brand new, it's a little oversized, so it can be fitted to various 8K receivers. So once you get it in, you should be able to push this right down, okay, and lock it into place. And once it's locked into place, you're going to check for clearance right here. So if it doesn't clear, you're going to have to take a file, take it out, take a file, and file this upper lip down. So when it fits correctly, you're going to be able to take your cleaning kit, lock that gas tube into place. And when it does that, you shouldn't have any wiggle. It should be on there tight, which it does. Okay, so I'm going to take that off, and I'm going to show you the next step. And the next step of doing the front end conversion is notching the barrel. Okay, I've already put this handguard retainer on here. All you got to do is you got to push it in. It's going to scrape up the side of your barrel a little bit, It's hardly ever noticeable. Okay, so what you got to do is you got to put this lower handguard on into the receiver back, the front of the receiver like that, where the notch in the rear of the lower handguard slides into the receiver, and then you slide this up, the handguard retainer over the front, and then through this hole you'll be able to see exactly where you're going to need to notch it. As you can see, right here in this hole, if I can line it up in the camera correctly, right there is where the hole overlaps. You see the tip of this punch? You're going to want to notch it right there. So you take something, you go ahead and mark the center of that. Okay, and once you've done it, you should have a little mark on there like so. And you start notching. To notch, you can use a hand file if you want. What I like to use is I go back to my Dremel or my rotary tool, my Black & Decker, and I use this bit on it. This is a little diamond coated grinder bit. It's perfect for notching Saiga barrels. Go ahead and tighten that down. So once you've got that notched, you should be able to go ahead and slide this bolt right through into the notch. So once the barrel is notched down, this should pass freely through. Which right now it doesn't because it's not notched yet. And one thing that I found out about these pins is that you're going to want to taper this part a little bit so that it goes through these holes more freely. And I've had to do that a couple of times while doing front-end conversions. So just a little note. You may or may not, in my experiences, I find it helpful to do that. So let me go ahead and do that, and then I'll show you what it looks like. I think that pretty much does it. Okay, now I'm going to focus my attention on this. I'm just going to taper this end off a little bit so it will slide in through the lower retainer screw hole. So you can see, just put a little taper on that. And let's see if it fits. You can go in from either side. My rubber mallet. In the notch. I'll put the screw in from the other side. And tighten down with a screwdriver. And as you tighten down, it's going to pull it closer together and bring it closer to that notch to make it fit a whole lot better. And there you go. The lower handguard is retained. No movement whatsoever. It's a pretty good tight fit. So to get this to fit properly with a lower handguard retainer, you're gonna have to notch this down a little bit because these come up a little too high for this to sit properly in the rear side block. So just take a grinder, or not a grinder, but a grinding bit on your rotary tool. Careful, don't slip. If you're worried about slipping, tape off the places you don't want to mess up. You go like this. Notch it down on both sides. It looks something like this. Hopefully it'll fit a little better. So now the last part before I put it all back together is take a little cold blue and just touch up all the bare metal. And then it should be good to go. Cold blue is just puts a little oxidation on the bare metal so that it protects it from getting further oxidized. It's kind of like a forced patina, but it happens instantly. Just everywhere where you see bare metal. Also, you can do it right here, where you ground off a lot of the metal to expose the unprotected areas. A little bit more on there. Okay, let it kind of do its thing. And also here. Okay, so while it does that, while it's getting itself nice and protected in all these places, before you put it back together, you want to go ahead and wipe it off so it doesn't further corrode. Wipe it off this too. Give it a nice clean up all the way around. So now you can tell, instead of bare metal, there's some bluing going on here in the notch. Of course, you want to clean off all the shaved metal, and I will put it back together. This is the finished product of converting the forend of the Saiga 7.62x39 rifle. So now it's got the standard Warsaw pack length AK stock, which with the Saiga it's a little bit short, but it makes it the same length as a regular AK. As you can tell, this trigger guard right there and with the trigger location is still the standard Saiga one, which makes this stock much easier to fire without the pistol grip, as opposed to having this trigger moved forward like in a converted Saiga. You can easily grip this like a Monte Carlo stock.